The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. It was huge, bigger than any building humans had ever made. The ship looked like it was made of crystal and metal, shining bright in the sunlight. People all over the world stopped what they were doing and looked up. Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship, Harmony's Edge. He was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue glass. His four eyes moved slowly as he looked at the planet below. Earth seemed peaceful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. Veltar smiled with his small mouth. "This should be easy," he said to his crew. "The reports say these humans are simple creatures. They live in small groups and fight with basic weapons. We will offer them our protection, and they will be grateful." But Veltar was very wrong. Deep underground in Seoul, South Korea, alarms started ringing. Red lights flashed in the military command center. Soldiers ran to their positions. On the biggest screen in the room, they could see the alien ship. "Unknown object detected," said a computer voice. "Size approximately 12 kilometers long. Origin, unknown. Threat level, maximum." Dae-ho Kim was eating lunch when the alarm sounded. He dropped his rice bowl and ran to his fighter jet. Dae-ho was 28 years old and one of Korea's best pilots. He had black hair and serious dark eyes. He had trained for this moment his whole life, but he never thought it would really happen. "All pilots to stations," came the voice over the radio. "This is not a drill. Unknown craft in Earth orbit. Prepare for possible hostile action." Dae-ho climbed into his jet and started the engines. Around him, 50 other pilots did the same thing. The hangar doors opened, and they flew up into the sky. In seconds, they were racing toward the alien ship at 3 times the speed of sound. On the alien ship, Veltar watched his screens with growing surprise. "What are those small craft?" he asked. "They appear to be primitive flying machines," said his science officer. "But they are moving very fast, much faster than our reports suggested was possible for this species." Veltar felt worried for the first time. "How fast?" Mach 3.2 and climbing, Captain. The alien captain's blue skin turned a darker shade. According to his information, humans barely knew how to make fire, but these machines were almost as fast as some galactic council ships. Dae-ho spoke into his radio as he flew closer to the huge alien vessel. "Soul Control, this is Eagle 1. I can see the target. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Eagle 1, maintain safe distance. Do not engage unless attacked first." "Copy that, Control." But the alien ship was already taking action. Bright lights appeared on its surface and a beam of energy shot out toward the Earth. The beam hit the ground in an empty field, making a perfect circle of flat, smooth stone. "Warning shot," Dae-ho said into his radio. "They just melted a field into glass." All over the world, other countries saw what was happening. American jets launched from aircraft carriers. Russian missiles turned toward the sky. Chinese space weapons powered up. In less than 10 minutes, Earth had pointed every weapon it had at the alien ship. Veltar could not believe what he was seeing on his screens. "This is impossible," he said. "They should be hiding in fear. Instead, they are surrounding us with weapons." "Captain," said his communications officer, "we are receiving signals from the planet, hundreds of signals. They seem to be trying to talk to us." "Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with voices speaking different human languages. English, Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, Russian, Korean, dozens of languages all saying the same thing. "Identify yourself. State your purpose. Leave our space immediately." Veltar's 4 eyes went wide. "They have a global communication network?" But the reports said they were tribal. Dr. Yunbi Park sat in a special room under the United Nations building in New York. She was 31 years old, with long black hair and intelligent eyes. She was Earth's top expert on alien life, even though she had never seen a real alien before today. Now she was humanity's voice for first contact. "This is Dr. Park of Earth," she said into her microphone. "We can see that you are not from our world. We want to talk peacefully. Please respond." The alien ship's reply came in perfect English, which surprised everyone. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Captain Veltar of the Galactic Council ship Harmony's Edge. We come in peace to welcome you to the galactic community. Yunbi felt excited. First contact with aliens. This was the greatest moment in human history. We are honored by your visit, Captain Veltar. How can we help you? In Seoul, Colonel Taemin. Lee listened to the conversation through his headphones. He was 34 years old with gray in his black hair and scars on his hands from old battles. Taemin was Korea's best military strategist. He had studied every war in human history, and something about the aliens' words made him nervous. I don't like this, Taemin said to his staff. Listen to how he talks. Welcome you to the galactic community. Like we should be grateful. Like we need his permission. Back in space, Veltar was trying to understand what he was seeing. His screens showed him impossible things. The humans had weapons in space, satellites with lasers and missiles. They had ships under the ocean that could launch rockets. They had planes that could fly faster than sound. Most shocking of all, they seemed to work together as one species, even though they lived on different parts of their planet. Captain, said his science officer, I'm reading the planet's electromagnetic signals. These humans have sent machines to other planets in their solar system. They have bases on their moon. They have robots on Mars. Veltar sat down heavily in his command chair. The reports were all wrong. These weren't primitive creatures. These were spacefaring beings with advanced technology and weapons. But he had his orders from the Galactic Council. He had to make the offer. Dr. Park, Veltar said, the Galactic Council has decided to extend an invitation to humanity. You may join our community as a protected species. We will provide technology and guidance to help you develop safely. In return, you must agree to certain limitations. In her underground room, Yunbi felt her excitement start to fade. What kind of limitations? You must not expand beyond your current solar system without council permission. You must not develop certain dangerous technologies. You must accept council observers on your planet to make sure you follow our rules. These rules are for your own safety and the safety of others. Taemin heard every word, and his face grew dark with anger. He had heard these words before in human history, when stronger countries came to weaker ones and offered protection in exchange for freedom. It was always the same lie. He grabbed his radio. Dr. Park, this is Colonel Lee in Seoul. Ask him what happens if we say no. Yunbi heard Taemin's voice in her earpiece. She thought about his question for a moment, then asked it. Veltar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, species who refuse council protection often face difficulties. Pirates attack their ships. Trade routes are closed to them. Sometimes their planets are declared too dangerous for contact and they are left alone until they change their minds. Around the world, military leaders heard those words and understood. This wasn't an invitation. It was a threat. Yunbi looked at the camera that would broadcast her words to the world. Every human on Earth was watching and listening. She thought about everything her species had accomplished. Humans had climbed the highest mountains and dove to the deepest oceans. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They had reached for the stars with their own hands and their own minds. Captain Veltar, she said clearly, thank you for your offer, but humanity must respectfully decline. We prefer to make our own way in the galaxy. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Finally, Veltar spoke, and his voice sounded different now. Colder. Are you certain of this decision, Dr. Park? The galaxy can be a very dangerous place for species without protection. Above. Korea? Daeho listened to the conversation and tightened his grip on his fighter's controls. Around the world, millions of soldiers, sailors, and pilots did the same thing. Yunbi's voice was steady and strong when she answered. Captain, humans have lived on a dangerous world for millions of years. We're still here. We think we can handle whatever the galaxy has to offer. On his ship, Veltar realized he had made a terrible mistake. These weren't grateful primitives who would accept council rule. These were predators who had clawed their way to the top of their own world's food chain. And now they were looking at the stars with hungry eyes. The first contact between humanity and the Galactic Council was over. What came next would change the galaxy forever. 3 days after the failed first contact, Captain Veltar stood before the Galactic Council. The council chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives from 200 different alien species. Most of them looked nothing like humans. Some were made of gas, others looked like giant insects, and a few were just floating lights. The High Counselor was ancient, even by galactic standards. Her name was Zenthara, and she belonged to a species that looked like walking trees. She had been alive for over 3,000 years and had seen many new species join the council. "Captain Veltar," Zenthara said, in a voice like wind through leaves. "Explain to us how a primitive species refused our generous offer." Veltar's blue skin turned darker with embarrassment. "High Counselor, I believe our information about the humans was incomplete." "Incomplete how?" "They are not primitive. High Counselor, they have advanced technology. They have weapons that can reach space. They work together across their entire planet." A buzz of worried voices filled the chamber. Counselor Thexmore, who looked like a giant purple octopus, raised 3 of his arms. "Captain, are you saying they are a threat?" I don't know, Counselor, but they are not what we expected." High Counselor Zenthara's wooden face showed no emotion. "Then we must learn more about these humans. Send our best research team to study them. Use our spy satellites, find out everything." Back on Earth, life was changing fast. The alien visit had shaken humanity to its core. Governments worked together like never before. Scientists shared information freely. Military forces coordinated their defenses. Dr. So-Young Choi worked in a marine research station under the Pacific Ocean. She was 29 years old, with short black hair and calloused hands from years of diving. So-Young studied life in the deepest parts of Earth's oceans, places where the pressure would crush most aliens instantly. She didn't know that alien spy satellites were watching her every move. "Beginning dive to the Mariana Trench," So-Young said into her radio. She was inside a small submarine going down to the deepest part of Earth's oceans. Depth, 8,000 meters and descending. The alien researchers watching from space could barely believe what they were seeing. The pressure at that depth was over 800 times stronger than normal air pressure. It would kill most galactic species in seconds. "How is she surviving?" asked research leader Quindal, a floating jellyfish-like creature. "That pressure should turn her into paste." "The human is inside a protective shell," replied his assistant. "But the shell is so thin. Our people would need much thicker protection." So-Young reached the bottom of the ocean and climbed out of her submarine. She wore a special suit that let her walk around on the ocean floor. To the watching aliens, it looked like she was taking a casual walk in one of the most deadly environments in the galaxy. "Water temperature is just above freezing," So-Young reported cheerfully. "Perfect conditions for deep-sea life. I can see several new species of fish that seem to be thriving down here." The alien researchers were horrified. Not only was this human surviving in crushing pressure and freezing cold, she was happy about it. Meanwhile, in the mountains of Tibet, astronaut Hyun-Woo Jang was training for humanity's next space mission. He was 29 years old, tall and strong, with eyes that always looked at the sky. Hyun-Woo had already been to space 3 times, but the aliens didn't know that yet. The alien spy satellites followed him as he climbed the highest mountain, on Earth without breathing equipment. At that height, there wasn't enough oxygen for most aliens to survive. Reaching 8,000 meters altitude, Hyun-Woo said into his radio, breathing hard, but still moving up the mountain. "Weather is getting rough, but visibility is still good." Wind and snow hit him like frozen hammers, but he kept climbing. The alien researchers watched in shock as he reached the top of the mountain, planted a flag, and then jumped off the edge, with only a cloth parachute to slow his fall. "This is impossible," whispered Quindal. "He just survived in conditions that would kill half the species in the council, and he did it for fun." But the worst was yet to come. In the deserts of Nevada, military engineer Mira Song was testing new survival equipment. She was 26 years old with bright eyes and steady hands. Mira specialized in helping humans survive in places where life shouldn't exist. The alien satellites watched as she walked into an area where nuclear weapons had been tested decades ago. The radiation levels were still dangerous, but Mira wore Only light protective clothing. Radiation levels are elevated but acceptable, Mira reported calmly. The new suits are working perfectly. Humans could work in this environment for days without problems. The alien research team was becoming frightened. They had never seen beings who could survive such dangerous conditions so easily. Send the HFY, report to the council immediately, Quindel ordered. We need to re-examine this planet. When the research report reached the Galactic Council, it caused panic. The aliens realized they had made a terrible mistake in classifying Earth. According to this data, announced Science Counselor Vexti, a creature that looked like a walking crystal, the planet Earth is not a normal world. It is what we call a death world. Gasps echoed through the council chamber. Most aliens had only heard stories about death worlds, planets so dangerous that they killed most life forms. Explain, demanded High Counselor Zenthara. Vexti's crystal body flashed different colors as she spoke. Earth has gravity that is twice as strong as most habitable worlds. The atmosphere contains oxygen, which is poisonous to many species. The planet is hit by deadly radiation from its star. It has violent weather that can destroy cities. Ice ages happen regularly. Asteroids strike the surface. Volcanoes explode without warning. The council chamber fell silent. But worst of all, Vexti continued, life on Earth doesn't just survive these disasters. It gets stronger because of them. Every few million years, something happens that kills most life on the planet. But some creatures always survive, and they evolve to be tougher than before. Counselor Thexmore waved his purple arms nervously. And the humans? The humans are the current winners of this deadly game. They survived ice ages, plagues, asteroid impacts, and supervolcano eruptions. They learned to hunt creatures much bigger and stronger than themselves. They spread across their entire planet, including places other species can't even visit. High Counselor Zenthara's wooden face looked troubled. Show us more evidence. The giant screens around the council chamber lit up with images from Earth. The aliens saw humans swimming with sharks, climbing into active volcanoes to study them, and flying small aircraft through violent storms. They saw human children playing in snow that would freeze most aliens solid. They saw humans eating foods that would poison other species. Look at their entertainment, Vexti said, showing movies and sports. They enjoy watching stories about disasters, wars, and monsters. Their games involve fighting, racing, and surviving in dangerous situations. What they do for fun would terrify most civilized beings. The images kept coming. Humans diving from cliffs into water. Humans running long distances in burning heat. Humans exploring caves deep underground. Humans launching themselves into space in small metal containers, trusting their lives to controlled explosions. They explore their planet's most dangerous places, Vexti explained. Deep oceans, frozen wastelands, burning deserts, radioactive zones. They don't avoid danger. They seek it out. Captain Veltar, who had been quiet during the presentation, finally spoke. High Counselor, there's something else. When I offered them our protection, they weren't afraid. They were insulted, like we had questioned their strength. Because we had, Zenthara realized. We told the apex predators of a death world that they needed our protection. The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. Earth wasn't just dangerous. It was the ultimate testing ground for life. And humans weren't lucky survivors. They were the winners of the most brutal evolutionary contest in the galaxy. High Counselor, asked a small mouse-like alien, what do we do now? Zenthara was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was heavy with worry. We have made first contact with a species that has been forged by millions of years of survival on the most dangerous world we have ever encountered. They are stronger, tougher, and more adaptable than any species in the Council. And they refused our offer of protection, added Captain Veltar. Worse than that, Zenthara said. We have probably made them angry, and we have no idea what angry Deathworlders might do. The council chamber filled with worried whispers in dozens of alien languages. For the first time in galactic history, the Galactic Council was afraid of a newly discovered species. On Earth, humans continued their daily lives, not knowing that they had terrified the most powerful organization in the galaxy simply by being themselves. They worked, played, loved, and dreamed of reaching the stars. But in the depths of space, alien civilizations were beginning to prepare for something they had never faced before, a species that might be stronger than they were. The galaxy was about to change forever, and it had started with one simple truth. Humans were not the weak primitives the aliens expected. They were predators from the ultimate death world, and they were just getting started. 6 months had passed since the alien ship first appeared over Earth. The Galactic Council thought they could force humanity to accept their rules through fear and pressure. They stopped all trade with Earth. They blocked human signals from reaching other parts of the galaxy. They spread warnings that Earth was dangerous and should be avoided. The aliens expected humans to beg for mercy within weeks. Instead, something incredible happened. In a secret laboratory beneath Seoul, engineer Jin Ho, Kang worked day and night on pieces of alien technology. When Captain Veltar's ship had left Earth, it had dropped small pieces of metal and crystal. These tiny fragments were all Jin Ho needed. Jin Ho was 30 years old, with tired eyes and hands stained with oil and chemicals. He had not slept properly in weeks, but he was excited. He had just solved a puzzle that should have taken centuries. "I've got it," Jin Ho shouted to his team. "The alien engines don't use fuel like ours. They bend space itself to move." His assistant, a young woman named HFY, looked at the equations covering the walls. "But Jin-Ho, how do they bend space?" Jin-Ho smiled and pointed to a small alien crystal glowing with blue light. "This crystal creates a field that makes gravity work differently. If we can copy this, we can build our own faster-than-light engines," HFY finished. What should have taken human scientists hundreds of years, Jin-Ho's team did in 6 months. They didn't just copy the alien technology, they improved it. Meanwhile, in a physics lab in Busan, Dr. Ye-Jin Lim was working on an even bigger breakthrough. She was 28 years old with sharp eyes and a mind that never stopped thinking. Ye-Jin specialized in quantum physics, the science of very tiny particles that behaved in strange ways. "The aliens use quantum fields to travel faster than light," Ye-Jin explained to her research team. "But their method is slow and wastes energy. I think we can do better." Her team looked at her like she was crazy. "Better than aliens who have traveled space for thousands of years?" "Yes," Ye-Jin said confidently, "because we think differently than they do. They follow old, safe methods. We're willing to try dangerous new ideas." Ye-Jin was right. Within 3 months, her team had created a new type of faster-than-light drive that was twice as fast as anything the aliens used. More importantly, it could work in places where alien ships couldn't go, near black holes, inside nebulas, and through dangerous asteroid fields. But the most important breakthrough came from an unexpected place. Donghyun Park worked in a small office in Seoul, surrounded by computer screens and empty coffee cups. He was 32 years old with messy hair and thick glasses. Most people thought Donghyun was just a computer programmer, but he was actually Korea's best cybersecurity expert. While the aliens tried to block human communications, Donghyun was busy breaking into their computer networks. "Their security is terrible," Donghyun muttered as he typed rapidly. "They've been the strongest species in the galaxy for so long, they never thought anyone would try to hack them." It took Donghyun only 2 weeks to break into the Galactic Council's main computer system. What he found there changed everything. "This is incredible," Donghyun said as he read through thousands of alien documents. "The Galactic Council isn't what they pretend to be. They're not peaceful protectors, they're bullies." The documents showed the truth about the Galactic Council. When new species were discovered, the Council would make the same offer they made to humans: join as a protected species with limited rights. Species that refused were attacked until they surrendered. Species that accepted became slaves in all but name. The Council controlled trade, technology, and even which planet species could live on. They kept the younger species weak and dependent, while the older founding members lived in luxury. They've done this to hundreds of species, Donghyun realized, and they plan to do it to us. But Donghyun found something even more disturbing. The Council was already preparing for war with humanity. They were gathering the largest fleet in galactic history to attack Earth. Dong Hyun immediately sent his findings to every government on Earth. Within hours, the information was being studied by military leaders around the world. President Kim of South Korea held an emergency meeting with her top advisors. How long do we have before they attack? According to the alien documents, 6 months, replied General Choi. They're being careful because they're afraid of us. Afraid of us? The president asked. Yes, ma'am. They call us Deathworlders and warn their military that we might be more dangerous than expected. Meanwhile, human ships were already leaving Earth's solar system. Jinho's new engines had been built and installed in dozens of spacecraft. These ships were small, fast, and could go places alien vessels couldn't follow. Captain Hee-jin Moon commanded the first human exploration ship to reach another star system. She was 35 years old with silver in her black hair and scars from a training accident years earlier. Hee-jin had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in human history, making contact with alien species without the Council's permission. This is Captain Moon reporting from the Kepler system, she said into her radio. We've found intelligent life here. The aliens she found were called the Yith. They looked like giant butterflies with rainbow wings. The Yith had been members of the Galactic Council for 800 years, but they were not happy about it. You came here without Council permission? Asked Elder Shithai, the leader of the Yith. That is very dangerous. We don't recognize the Council's authority over us, Captain Moon replied. We want to trade and be friends, but we won't ask permission to travel through space. Elder Shithai's wings fluttered with excitement. You refuse the Council? But they are so powerful, are they? Captain Moon asked. Or do they just want everyone to think they are? She showed Elder Shithai the documents Dong Hyun had stolen from the Council computers. The butterfly-like alien read through them with growing anger. This explains so much, Elder Shithai said. Why we are never allowed to develop new technologies. Why we must ask permission for everything. We thought this was normal, but it's not. It's control. Captain Moon made the first alliance between humanity and another alien species. The Yith agreed to share information and resources with humans, bypassing the Council completely. But the Yith weren't the only species tired of Council rule. In the next 3 months, human ships made contact with 17 different alien civilizations. Most of them were angry when they learned the truth about the Council. Some agreed to secret alliances with humanity. Others just wanted to be left alone. The Council watched in horror as their control over the galaxy began to crumble. Species that had obeyed them for centuries were now asking difficult questions. Some were refusing to pay taxes to the Council. Others were demanding the right to develop their own technology. The humans are destroying everything we've built, High Counselor Zenthara said to her advisors. In less than a year, they've undone 1,000 years of careful control. What do we do, High Counselor? Asked Captain Veltar. We have no choice, Zenthara replied. We must attack Earth now before they make any more allies. Show the galaxy what happens to species that defy us. But the humans had one more surprise for the Council. Deep in space, between the stars where no one expected to find them, human ships were building something the galaxy had never seen before. Using materials mined from asteroids and technology stolen from a dozen different alien species, they were constructing a space station larger than any city on Earth. The station was hidden in a nebula that blocked most sensors. Even if the aliens, found it, they couldn't reach it. The nebula was full of radiation and dangerous gases that would destroy normal spaceships. But human ships, built tough like everything humans made, could operate there safely. Station Alpha is now operational, reported Commander Park Min-ho from the hidden base. We have manufacturing facilities, research labs, and enough supplies to last for years. The station was humanity's secret weapon. From there, they could build ships, conduct research, and coordinate with their alien allies without the Council knowing. By the time the Council realized what was happening, it was too late. Humanity had already changed the rules of the game. The aliens had tried to use economic pressure and isolation to force human surrender. Instead, they had pushed humanity to become more innovative, more determined, and more dangerous than ever, and now, the largest fleet in galactic history was heading for Earth, expecting to fight primitive Deathworlders armed with basic technology. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The largest military fleet in galactic history moved through space toward Earth. 5,000 alien warships from dozens of different species formed a wall of metal and energy that stretched across millions of kilometers. At the center of the fleet, High Counselor Zenthara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Peace. "This will end the human problem once and for all," she said to her war council. "No species has ever survived an assault of this size." Admiral Kethivor, a lizard-like creature with scales that changed color when he was excited, checked his battle screens. "Our scouts report only a few hundred human ships defending their planet. They are outnumbered 20 to 1. "Good," Zenthara replied. "Begin the attack. Target their military bases first, then their cities. When they surrender, we will accept only complete submission." But the aliens had made their first mistake. They thought the small number of human defenders meant humanity was weak and unprepared. They didn't understand that humans had spent the last year preparing for exactly this moment. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath Seoul, Commander Sung-Ho Bae watched the alien fleet approach on his screens. He was 33 years old with broad shoulders and calm eyes that had seen too many battles. Sung-Ho commanded Earth's Space Marines, soldiers trained to fight in the vacuum of space. "All stations, this is Earth Command," Sung-Ho said, into his microphone. "The aliens are coming. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Make them regret ever threatening our home." Around the solar system, human ships moved into position. They looked small compared to the alien vessels, but they were built using lessons learned from studying alien technology and improved with human engineering. Dr. Hee-Jin Kim sat in the command center of humanity's newest weapon, an artificial intelligence that could think and fight like a human brain. She was 29 years old with quick hands and eyes that never seemed to blink. Hee-Jin had created the AI using copies of human neural patterns. "Area online and ready," reported the AI in a voice that sounded almost human. "All tactical systems active. Enemy fleet detected and analyzed." "What do you see, Area?" Hee-Jin asked. "The alien formation is designed for fighting other civilized species," Arya replied. "They expect their enemies to fight in organized lines, following military rules. They are not prepared for human tactics." Hee-Jin smiled. "Show them what we learned on Earth." The alien fleet reached the edge of Earth's solar system and began their attack. Thousands of energy beams shot toward the human defenders. But when the lights faded, the aliens saw something impossible. The human ships were still there. "How did they survive that barrage?" Admiral Kethivor demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," replied his sensor officer. "Their ships appear to be more heavily armored than our intelligence suggested. What the aliens didn't know was that human ships were built differently than theirs. Alien vessels were beautiful, efficient, and comfortable. Human ships were ugly, tough, and designed to keep fighting even when badly damaged." Commander Woo Jin Lee piloted humanity's newest warship, the Soul's Fury. He was 27 years old with steady hands and reflexes faster than any alien pilot. Woo Jin had learned to fly in Earth's dangerous atmosphere, dodging storms and mountains that would terrify most species. "This is Woo Jin to all human ships," he said over the radio. "Time to show these aliens how we fight. Remember, we're not trying to be civilized, we're trying to win." The human ships scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that confused the aliens. Instead of fighting in neat formations like civilized species, the humans attacked like a pack of wolves, fast, unpredictable, and deadly. Woo Jin's ship dove toward an alien cruiser that was 10 times larger. The alien captain expected the small human vessel to fire its weapons and retreat. Instead, Woo Jin flew his ship directly at the alien's bridge, firing constantly and spinning to avoid return fire. "Impossible!" screamed the alien captain. "No pilot can fly like that. The forces would kill him." But Woo Jin had trained his whole life in Earth's strong gravity. What would crush an alien pilot was just normal flying for him. He destroyed the alien ship's weapons, disabled its engines, and left it floating helplessly in space. All across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human pilots performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Human ships kept fighting even when they should have been destroyed. Human tactics confused alien commanders who had studied warfare for centuries. But the most shocking surprise came from Arya. Initiating cyber warfare protocols, Arya announced calmly. In seconds, the AI had broken into the alien fleet's computer networks. While the aliens tried to fight the human ships, Arya was rewriting their navigation systems, shutting down their weapons and stealing their tactical plans. "Admiral," shouted the lizard-like Kethvor's communications officer. "Something is wrong with our computers. Ships are firing on each other. Navigation systems are failing." "How is this possible?" Kethvor demanded. On Earth, Hyejin watched Arya work with admiration. "The aliens use logical computer systems," she explained to her staff. "Very organized, very predictable. Arya thinks like a human, creative, intuitive, and willing to break rules. Their computers can't defend against that." The battle that should have lasted days was over in hours. Half the alien fleet was destroyed or disabled. The other half retreated, in confusion and fear. But the humans weren't finished. "All ships pursue the enemy," ordered Commander Sung-ho. "Don't let them escape to warn the rest of the galaxy about our true capabilities." Human ships, faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had seen, chased the fleeing enemy vessels. They used the same tactics that had won the main battle: unpredictable attacks, impossible maneuvers, and technology the aliens couldn't understand. In less than a day, the largest military fleet in galactic history had been completely destroyed, by a force 1/20th its size. High Counselor Zenthara's flagship was one of the few ships that escaped. She stood on her bridge staring at the tactical displays that showed the destruction of her fleet. "How?" she whispered. "How did a species we discovered less than 2 years ago defeat us so completely?" Captain Veltar, who had survived the battle, tried to explain. "High Counselor, they don't fight like any species we know. They ignore military tradition. They use tactics that risk their own lives. They sacrifice individual ships to destroy larger targets. It's like they prefer to die fighting rather than live in defeat." Zenthara suddenly understood. They're not just from a death world. They are the death world. Every human is a weapon forged by millions of years of survival on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. The news of the defeat spread across the galaxy in days. Species that had been terrified of the Galactic Council for centuries suddenly saw that the mighty organization could be beaten. On the Yith homeworld, Elder Sitai called an emergency meeting. "The humans have proven that the Council can be defeated. We no longer have to live in fear." Similar meetings happened on dozens of worlds. The galaxy was changing, and it was changing fast. Back on Earth, the human leaders met to plan their next moves. They had won the battle, but they knew the war was far from over. "The Council will try again," warned General Park. "They can't afford to let us win. It would destroy their control over the galaxy." Commander Sung-ho nodded. "Then we need to be ready. But this time, we won't wait for them to attack us. It's time to take the fight to them." President Kim looked around the room at her advisors. "Are we really going to war with the entire Galactic Council?" "We're already at war," replied Sung-ho. "They started it when they tried to make us slaves. Now we're going to finish it." The humans had shown the galaxy that the Galactic Council could be defeated. Now they had to decide what kind of galaxy they wanted to build from the ashes of the old order. The final confrontation was coming, and this time humanity would not be the prey. 1 year after the Great Battle, the galaxy was in chaos. The Galactic Council's defeat had inspired rebellions on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been slaves for centuries were fighting for their freedom. The old order was crumbling, and everyone knew that what came next would shape the galaxy for thousands of years. In the council chamber where the Galactic Council once ruled, a very different meeting was taking place. Representatives from over 50 species sat together, but this time they were equals. No one species was in charge. No one could tell the others what to do. At the center of it all sat diplomat Young-Sik Han. He was 35 years old with gray hair and patient eyes. Young-Sik had spent his career making peace between enemies, and now he faced the biggest challenge of his life, creating a new government for the entire galaxy. Friends, Young-Sik said in the language translator, that let everyone understand each other. We are here to build something new. Not an empire where the strong rule the weak, but a true partnership where all species are equal. Elder HFY of the Yeath fluttered her rainbow wings in agreement. The humans showed us that the Council's power came from fear, not strength. Now we can choose our own path. But not everyone was happy with the changes. Across the galaxy, the remains of the Galactic Council had gathered the last of their loyal forces. They called themselves the True Council now, and they were determined to restore their power. High Counselor Zenthara stood before her remaining supporters in a hidden base. Her wooden face was dark with anger. The humans have poisoned the galaxy, against us. Younger species think they deserve the same rights as their elders. This chaos must end. What do you propose, High Counselor? Asked Admiral Kethfor, whose scales had turned black with rage. Total war, Zenthara replied. We will gather every ship, every weapon, every ally we have left. We will destroy the humans and make an example that the galaxy will never forget. Meanwhile, Admiral Sunmi Cho commanded humanity's space forces from her flagship, the New Earth. She was 38 years old, with silver streaks in her black hair and scars from the Great Battle. Sunmi had fought in every major engagement of the war, and she knew the True Council would not give up easily. Intelligence reports show the enemy gathering their forces in the Andromeda sector. Sunmi reported to Earth Command. They have about 3,000 ships from their most loyal species. 3,000 against our 500, replied General Park from Earth. Not good odds. Sunmi smiled grimly. The odds were worse in our first battle, and we won that one. Besides, we're not fighting alone this time. She was right. Humanity now had allies across the galaxy. The Yith had provided their best pilots. The rock-like granite people had shared their incredibly strong armor technology. The energy beings, called the Bright Ones, had taught humans how to make weapons that could destroy entire fleets. But most importantly, dozens of species had learned to fight like humans. The Yith pilots are using human tactics now, reported Captain Kim from the training center. They're learning to ignore their fear and attack larger enemies. The granite people have built ships that can ram enemy vessels and survive. Everyone is fighting differently now. The final battle began in the empty space between two galaxies. The True Council fleet was massive and organized, with ships arranged in perfect formations. They fought the old way, civilized, predictable, and by the rules. Against them came the New Alliance fleet, smaller, but filled with species that had learned human tactics. They fought like wolves, like storms, like the chaos of evolution itself. Admiral Sunmi led the human ships in the first attack. Remember, she said to her captains, we're not just fighting for ourselves. Every species in this fleet is counting on us to show them the way. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of neat formations exchanging fire at long range, ships dove and spun and crashed into each other. Pilots performed maneuvers that should have killed them. Engineers kept damaged ships fighting long after they should have exploded. And in the middle of it all, humans showed the galaxy what they had learned from millions of years on Earth. That sometimes the only way to survive is to become more dangerous than anything trying to kill you. Philosopher Jae-Sung Kim watched the battle from the bridge of a hospital ship. He was 40 years old with thoughtful eyes and hands that shook slightly from old injuries. Jae-Sung had spent years studying what made humans different from other species. Do you see it? He asked the alien doctors working beside him. This is what we learned on Earth. Life isn't about being the strongest or the smartest, it's about being the most adaptable. It's about never giving up, no matter what. The alien doctors, a mix of species that had once been enemies, worked together to save wounded soldiers from both sides of the battle. They were learning another human lesson, that enemies could become friends, and that mercy was sometimes the strongest choice of all. The battle raged for 3 days. Ships were destroyed, heroes died, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. But slowly the true Council forces began to retreat. "This is impossible," screamed High Counselor Zenthara as her flagship shook from human weapons fire. "We are the rightful rulers. We have governed for 10,000 years. 10,000 years of keeping everyone else weak," replied young Sik Han, who had joined the battle in a diplomatic ship. "That time is over." "You humans think you can replace us," Zenthara said with hatred in her voice. "But you'll become just like us. Power corrupts everyone." "Maybe," young Sik admitted. "But we'll try not to. And if we do become corrupt, someone else will stop us. That's how it should work." The true Council's fleet was finally broken. Some ships surrendered, others fled to distant parts of the galaxy. A few fought to the death, preferring destruction to defeat. High Counselor Zenthara chose to go down with her ship. As the eternal peace burned around her, she sent one final message. "You think you have won, humans, but the galaxy is vast and full of dangers you cannot imagine. You will learn that ruling is harder than fighting." Young Sik heard her last words and felt sad rather than victorious. "She might be right," he said to Admiral Sunmi. "Winning the war might be easier than winning the peace." In the months that followed, the new Galactic Alliance worked to build something the galaxy had never seen. A true democracy where every species had a voice. It wasn't easy. Some species wanted revenge on their former oppressors. Others wanted to be left alone. A few tried to grab power for themselves. But humans had learned something important from their time on Earth. They knew how to survive chaos. They knew how to adapt to changing conditions. And most importantly, they knew how to work together when survival was at stake. The new government wasn't perfect, it probably never would be, but it was better than what came before, and it gave every species the chance to grow and improve. Years later, Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of humanity's first deep exploration ship. He was no longer a fighter pilot. Now he was an explorer, searching for new worlds and new life among the stars. "Captain," reported his science officer, "we're detecting signals from a previously unknown civilization. They appear to be at an early technological stage." Daeho smiled. "Open communications. Let's introduce ourselves properly this time. This is Captain Daeho Kim of the Earthship New Horizon," he said into the radio. "We come in peace, representing the new Galactic Alliance. We would like to be your friends if you're interested, but if you're not, that's okay too. The choice is yours." It was a very different first contact than the one Captain Veltar had attempted years earlier. This time, humanity came as equals, not as conquerors or protectors. The galaxy was still dangerous. There were still wars, disasters, and species that chose to be enemies. But now there was also hope. There were allies who would fight together against threats. There were friends who would help each other survive and grow, and somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, human ships continued to explore places other species considered too dangerous to visit. They built colonies on worlds that would kill most aliens. They rescued the survivors of disasters that would destroy entire civilizations. Because that's what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They helped others do the same. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the best hope for peace doesn't come from the strongest or the oldest species. Sometimes it comes from the ones who have learned how to survive anything the universe can throw at them. The Deathworlders had become the galaxy's protectors, and they were just getting started.